Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. Dragon Age the Veilgaurd is a bust. Yeah, it really is. We've had the weekend and it's not even cracked 90,000 players on Steam. That's really bad for a game that would have, just by sort of process of elimination and logical leaps, would have cost around, at the very least, $250 million to make. That's well over 5 million copies that they need to sell. That's just to make. Like, there's still marketing on top of that as well. So this is a disaster. Previous to the weekend, it could have been forgiven. That, of course, you know, it released at a certain time. And normally the weekend that immediately follows a game's release tends to pick up a little bit from there. I mean, it's picked up, but not by much, by like 10,000. Something like that, which is nothing. So let's take a look. Hit subscribe if you're new and you enjoy videos like this. But yeah, Dragon Age the Veilgaurd, peak concurrent players. Tops out at 89,418. And it's still the same, by the way. It's still here. Right now, 43,000 in the game. Interestingly, the Twitch stats are something to look at. Not exactly a lot, actually, to be fair. 26,000 viewers right now. 44,000, 24-hour peak. 170,000 all-time peak. It's not great. So, yeah, peak concurrent player counts for Dragon Age the Veilgaurd tops out at 89,418 on Sunday night, indicating that the game did not become a breakout success. It's not really a stretch. So, ahead of the game's release, EA CEO Andrew Wilson touted that the game to investors had breakout potential, and based on these peak concurrent players, that doesn't appear to be the case. So Wilson said, "I certainly think Veilgaurd has breakout potential. Again, 10 years ago, Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year and was a very strong performer for us in the conduct of our business. Now, this game might win Game of the Year because the world's upside down, topsy-turvy. So yeah, it might do, but that doesn't really mean anything. That's an industry congratulating itself. That doesn't mean anything. You know, in terms of popularity, which a Game of the Year should win, you know, an element of that should be based on its popularity. So he said further, this is entertainment, and so while much of our business has moved to live service moment to moment, deliver innovation and creativity for a deeply engaged community over the course of time, this opportunity to bring in incredibly high quality creative storytelling set in an amazing world with rich characters living out those stories, you're able to capture that moment in entertainment. Success almost certainly follows. Well, it almost certainly has not." And he said following, "We see that in the context of movies, we're seeing it in the context of TV seasons, and we see it in the context of video games. When we think about what we have with Veilgaurd right now, we have a storied studio in BioWare, we have a storied IP in Dragon Age, we have a team that took extra time to make sure the world was rich and the characters were interesting and the story was compelling. I think we're going into a market that has limited competition for this category of game, given some of the moves that have happened across the broader industry. And so, while I think it's too early to predict the outcome, the critical reviews have been incredibly strong. The team feels really energized by what they have delivered, and my sense is that yes, it has breakout capabilities." Yeah, I mean, it's not awesome. It's not doing great. So I thought we'd just take a look at it, actually. FYI, that's what they're talking about on Steam. So the budget for this was over $250 million. They need to sell over 6 million copies to make that money back. Correction, Inquisition budget was $150 million, and that was 10 years ago. So they must have dumped at least $250 million on the development without marketing. So what are the facts? Developers started in 2015. Hundreds of people were involved, but teams were switched. People were laid off. So it's hard to be precise, but we can do minimum estimates. So we can assume that out of these 9 years, at the very least 5 years, DAV, Dragon Age Veilgaurd, was being worked on from various news. 2017, 2021, game project faded in the background in 2021 to 2024. BioWare, which has 320 employees, was fully focused on it with help from EA. Since we know hundreds of people worked on the project, it's at least 200, probably more. Now in Canada, the average software developer is 80 grand US, but let's assume the average worker with taxes only cost 100 grand. They had very high staff turnover, and this is expensive, but this person will ignore it for the sort of sum. 5 years, 200 people, 100 grand each. That's 100 million. Super low estimate. This estimate might be more accurate. The actual numbers might be 100 people at the lowest and 500 at the highest. So an average of 300 over 9 years with a cost of at least 125,000 USD per person. BioWare average salary is actually 122 grand Canadian, if his sources are correct. Not counting health benefits, turnover, goodbye packages, Canada pension plan. USD to Canadian rate has been around 1.25 around that period. Saying 200 people worked on this game is me being kind to them. So they screwed it. I mean, without marketing, it's mental. And then there's other people that have said stuff. You know, I doubt it was that low. Dragon Age Inquisition cost 175 million from 3 years of development. I think it's likely way higher, but Source, the Acolyte was $180 million. I love the fact that's still coming up. That's amazing. That's madness. That is utterly crazy. But it's just not doing well. So you can see now here. Where is it on the most played games currently? Oh, it's not there. It's not there at all. Well, that's not very good, is it, guys? Brand new game. Not on the most played games. I had to double check just to make sure I was right. So it's not stacking up against the most played games. Trending games. Yeah, it's trending right now. I guess. Sure, fine. The Forest is still beating it, though. I like going to this one because it was released 6 years ago and it's still beating it today. It's mental. Another one which is comparable, Son of the Forest. That was released in February. That's doing okay, actually, to be fair. You know what I really like about all of this? What I've sort of come to really appreciate from looking at SteamDB is how successful the indie games or just the indie games are. Like, they're incredibly successful. And it's so refreshing to see that. Like, it's amazing to see that. You know, all of these indie games are just blowing it up. So, popular releases. Yeah, sure, it's in the popular releases. Still not doing great, though. $60 it cost. Mad. Absolute madness. And like I said, it's doing okay in terms of its reviews, right? What was it, like 9,000 people reviewed it positively by the looks of it. 3,000 reviewed it negatively. Yeah, you can see it there. So it's been reviewed okay, but that just tells me that the people that have bought it liked it, and the people that didn't buy it weren't interested. So you've not managed to capture people outside of your ideological set. Or capture realistically a new audience either, which is a pretty bad thing. So there you go. I mean, it's not looking great for this game. You know, when you look at other games that have blown up, I mean, Space Marine 2, that was a pretty big breakout hit. You know, when it was released, 225,000 concurrent players, pretty good. Black Myth Wukong had 2.4 million when it was released. I mean, it's just mental. Now 24-hour peak's like 110,000 still. So it's not doing well. You know, if you're going to compare, as this says here, if you compare the game to breakout successes from the past couple of years, it's very obvious that Dragon Age the Veilgaurd is not a hit. Elden Ring hit a peak concurrent player count from 953,000. I mean, nearly a million, when it was released in February of 2022. Even earlier this year, the game hit a peak concurrent of 781,000 when the Shadow of the Erd Tree was released. It's just blowing up. Baldur's Gate 3, 875,000. So you can see just how it's not a success. I mean, even now, Baldur's Gate 3 still 101,000 concurrent for a 24-hour peak. So yeah, it's pretty bad for a AAA game. It's not great, is it? Let's be honest. That's not good at all. So it is a bomb. You can deduce that from pretty basic figures. But there you go. Do you care? I mean, it's funny. They had a 2-minute lecture on pronouns in this game. What do you expect? But it is what it is. Leave your thoughts down below. Take care. Bye-bye now.